Welcome to Chapter 10, the t-test for two independent samples. This first video will go over research designs. We'll discuss between subjects and within subjects research designs. By the end of this video, you should understand which type of design is used in a t-test for two independent samples. In addition, we'll discuss the notation that is used for this type of test. So most research studies compare two or more sets of data, and that's kind of what I've been saying for the past few weeks, is that yes, sometimes people do the one sample t-test like we did in the last chapter, but most of the time, most of the research I did was comparing two sets of data, two samples. So a between subjects or independent subjects design, which is the one that I'm most familiar with, which is the one that most of my research looked like, is when you have data from two completely independent participant groups. So you have sample from one group of participants, and so you have sample 1 data, and you have data from another group of participants, sample 2 data, and you compare the two sets of data. So you're making the assumption that this sample data is going to apply to one population, and this sample data would generalize to another population. And so you're comparing those sample means. A within subjects or repeated measures design, on the other hand, is data from the same or related participant groups. So you have one group of individuals, and this is one type of within subjects design, where you collect data before and you collect data after. There are other types where maybe you have one sample and you collect data at time 1, 2, 3. There's a variety of them. But the important thing to remember is that you have one sample and you're comparing data within that one sample somehow, either before and after, over time, but you're comparing multiple sample means. They're just for the same group of individuals. So when we're talking about a t-test for independent measures, we're talking about using two different groups. Okay, so it's an independent measures t-test because there are two independent participant groups. So now we're going to see if you understand the difference between the two. So a researcher randomly assigns a group of 47 English speakers to receive a new Spanish language program and 48 other English speakers to receive a standard language program, and then measures how well they do on a Spanish language test. So is that a between subjects design or a within subjects design? Are there two groups of individuals and they're comparing their scores on that Spanish test? Or is it one group of individuals and they're looking at their Spanish scores before and after some sort of intervention? Well, let's see, we have 47 English speakers assigned to one language program, so that's one sample. 48 others receive the standard Spanish language program, so that's a second sample. So this would be a between subjects design. Here's another example. A marketing researcher measures 100 physicians' reports of the number of patients asking them about a particular drug during the month before and after a major advertising campaign. So again, do we have two groups that we're comparing, or do we have one group and we're looking at data before and after? So I only see it mention a group of 100 physician reports, and they're looking, asking them about a particular drug, and they're looking at it before and after a major advertising campaign. And so that's sometimes called a time series design or interrupted time series design, where you look at data before and after some sort of event. So this would be a within subjects design. Here's another example. A researcher tests the reaction time of each member of a group of 14 individuals twice. Once while in a very hot room and once while in a normal temperature room. So now do we have two groups that we're comparing, or one group we're comparing before and after, or over time? So it measures the reaction time of each member of a group of 14 individuals twice. Once while in a hot room and once while in a normal room. So there's one group of individuals and they're measuring them in a hot room and in a normal temperature room. So it's the same group of individuals. It's not before and after, but it's time 1 and time 2, and they're going to compare those two times. So it's a within subjects design. All right, another example, our final example. A researcher randomly assigns a group of 30 college students to watch a video of a robbery that ended in a shooting, either in slow motion or in real time, and then ask them whether they thought the intent was shoot to kill. So here we have one group that watched the video in slow motion. We have another group that watched the video in real time. So is this a between subjects or within subjects? It's, again, a between subjects design. So these are the first 4 questions on your practice problem set. So hopefully you had that and you followed along as we went through those examples. So for our independent measures research design, the idea is that we have 2 separate samples that represent 2 different populations. So we have population A taught by method A, and we have an unknown population mean. We get that, pull that sample, hopefully a representative sample, and then we do some sort of treatment on this group. We also have population B taught by method B. We have an unknown population mean, but we pull a sample from there, again, a representative sample using random sampling, and we get a sample mean for sample B. And here's just a little bit more of a specific example. So let's say you have your unknown population mean, you pull this sample from them, and they're going to read a passage and write down what they remember. You assume that that sample mean will generalize back to that population. The second group reads the passage and rereads the passage, and then tries to remember what they remember. So again, here you're comparing 2 sample means. One group, the groups differ in the way that they try to remember that information. So again, we're comparing these sample means because we don't know the population means. And that's, again, the beauty of the t-test. So here's just the notation, just to keep it straight. So it's good, sometimes it might get a little confusing. Here we're only going to be talking about 2 samples that we're comparing, but some studies get much more complex. So when we talk about sample 1, the number of individuals in sample 1 is going to be n sub 1. The sample mean for sample 1 will be m sub 1. And the sum of squared deviations for sample 1 will be ss sub 1, and so on and so forth. For sample 2, the number of individuals in the sample will be n sub 2. The sample mean will be represented as m sub 2. And the sum of squared deviations will be represented as ss sub 2.